Hello, everybody. I am back. I took a few days off to working on this collage because I was actually doing a real life live tutorial on collage making at the university where I work. My name is Jared Bendis, and I work at Case Western Reserve University. We just had a wonderful collage contest using the open access collection of the Cleveland Museum of Art, and this originally started as part of that. But I'm going to keep finishing this collage because it's pretty cool. I'm using open access images. I'm going to finish what I started because that's the kind of guy I am, and because it gives you some interesting insights into what it is to work in Photoshop day in and day out. Again, I always view Photoshop as sort of a baptism of fire. If you work in it and work it and work in it, then eventually you stop thinking about it, which is really the goal. The goal is to actually not think about Photoshop at all, just the task you have in hand. For those of you who are tuning in when I'm recording live, this is great. I do have a chat window open, so if you want to ask questions, say hi, tell your friends, all the good stuff. I am here streaming Photoshop. Yay. If you're watching it after I've recorded it, well, you should make sure that you like me and add me so that you can watch me live sometime and see other types of good things. I don't just do Photoshop. I will be doing other things like game design, and it won't always be collaging. I'll actually be doing a lot of board game as well. I do a lot of Photoshop and Illustrator board game. So basically, if I've got Adobe up, expect me to be streaming it. So where did we leave off the last time? Well, we're still working on this monster of a collage here, and it is monstrous. I mean, I've got those 4 background layers and 17 foreground layers and all sorts of goodness here. Let's take a look to see where we left off. Some parts we're done with. Like let's like recap, right? We've trimmed the horse, we've trimmed the tower, we've trimmed the gravy boat, we've trimmed the unicorn, we've trimmed the 3 clouds and the 4 flowers, though I cheated. Those clouds and flowers are duplicates. We've trimmed the vase and we've trimmed the angel. So pretty good to go. So now what do I have left? I've got my ducks, which are in a row. I love that joke. Never gets old. We've got my dragon to finish. We've got this and this and this and that. Which somebody asked me, like, what was the point of having the table fountain? They're like, how would you use a table fountain in a collage? Well, I'm kind of using it like a fortress type thing. I'm using it very much as a decorative sort of thing on the hill. Eventually, I have to come over here and cut this piece of background, and the other big section is going to be how do I get all 4 of these background layers sort of blended well together. I have a plan for this layer and this layer, which of course isn't bad that I have 2 layers planned. Matter of fact, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just say, hey, now's the time to look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my foreground elements, and I'm over here in my layers. And if anyone's here, please wave. Please wave. I do like to have people wave at me. And I'm going to turn off all my foreground elements. Oh, that's very, very nice. And I'm going to look at my background elements. So I have my lilies, I have my sky, I have my moon sky, I have my blue water, and I have my beach. And I'm going to start off by getting rid of some of the other background elements and looking straight at my beach. Wow, that is bright. It's kind of interesting when you look at this, you're like, is this a really good way for me to work? So I'm going to come over here, and if only to make my life easier. By the way, if you've been watching these, I have changed versions of Photoshop mid-tutorial, which is kind of strange for me, so I apologize. I'm going to grab and that means I also am going to not know where anything is. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to fill my background with that nice dark blue. I don't need to do that. My background's going to be completely covered. But by filling the background, it just gives me a little bit more sanity when I'm working. So I'm going to be working on the beach layer, and I'm going to be deciding what I want to keep here. The question is, do I want to keep any of the tall ships in the background? And the answer is no. No, I don't. So this will make my life a little bit easier, because what I'm going to be doing is coming in here and creating some sort of a relative horizon line inside of this sort of blue water, or this relative blue horizon. I don't want to be a completely straight line. I definitely want to keep a little bit of an organic nature to it. I mean, I don't want to be fully, flexible either, but I don't want it to look like I just sliced across, as it were. So I'm going to keep coming over here. Again, a little bit of an organic bit of blueness there. Now, when this falls away, That'll be a little interesting there to see what's going to happen when I get to the next layer. So like that. And you know how I like to zoom out before I do my big delete. Bam. All right, so interesting enough, that looks pretty good. I've got that little bit of a glow there. I haven't decided what to do with those foreground elements. So what's next is we have the blue water layer. Ooh, I like that. Now I got to decide what I'm going to do here. Magnifying glass fit screen so I can see everything and decide where is this going to fit within my overall here. Now, as I'm looking at this, it makes me wonder or not whether I should have kept all of that dark blue there or not. And I don't know. So I'm pondering. Now, the first thing I really have to do is decide whether or not I want my horizon line to be horizontal. Now, I'm going to do something new that I haven't done before. Is I'm going to bring in a guide. A guide is some sort of a parallel line, either a horizontal or vertical line. If you want to add a guide, you can click on View New Guide. But I like to grab my Move tool, dip into my ruler bar, and just bring up a guide. If you're like, I don't have a ruler bar, well, turn the damn rulers on. It's under rulers, it's under view and rulers. You always want to keep your rulers on, even though you're like, I don't need rulers, you might need guides, and that makes your life a little bit easier. And as you can see here, oh my God, my beach isn't horizontal. So this gives us an opportunity. I'm going to go back to my beach layer. I'm going to zoom out just a touch, and I'm going to do a free transform, which is Control T, and I am going to rotate and move make sure my snap isn't turned on. Good. I'm going to rotate and I'm going to move my horizon to be across the horizon line. And it's close. It isn't perfect yet. It's never really perfect, but it's going to be a little bit better. Now that's much nicer. So I've done that. And now that I've done that, I've gotten rid of all of, if I do decide to come over here and do a straight cut, which I'm going to do now, I'm going to come over here and do like a straight cut on here. Then when I delete that, I'm going to have the straight beach line, and then I'm going to click on View, Clear Guides, boom, and that's a really nice horizon line on the beach level. If I go back to the blue water level, now it's kind of be interesting because we've got this sort of sense of blue water here, and I can decide how far I'm going to put this over here. Now, the same thing kind of goes with this one. Is this horizon horizontal? No. So what do I need? Another guide. So I can decide where I want my horizon line to be. And this time, I'm going to rotate this layer. Ooh, okay. And again, horizons tend to be horizontal, just so it doesn't look like the boats are, disappearing down the other way. And it also makes everything look just a little bit smoother. I just do love that. View, Clear Guides. And again, you're going to see me going through a lot of menus. It's a mix about whether I'm going to menu item something or otherwise. Now I'm going to come over here and decide how much I want. Like, this is nice because you've got that nice little blend, but I got a question is, how far down do I want to put this? I like this right about there. Yeah, I like that. Now, when I zoom in, you're going to see this is a hard edge. And the hard edge might be too hard for what I'm looking at, but it's not bad, right? That's not a bad edge, right? That's a good edge right there. But you're like, what if I really wanted that edge to be softer? Well, a couple things that you can do. One is you could be a little bit more organic with it. I'm going to maybe go through the organic version first. For me to do this, that means I'm going to be doing a little bit of erasing. I'm going to be erasing on the beach level. And let me show you what happens if I grab the eraser tool. So I come over here and I grab the eraser tool and I figure out how big it is, and I'm going to make it a nice big eraser, something obnoxious like 120. Now, if I come over here and I erase, that is what's called a hard edge. As you realize, that's a hard edge that doesn't do me any good. But if I come over here, undo that, and make my eraser very soft, then when I erase, you get that nice soft edge, which can be very useful. Matter of fact, I'm going to make my paintbrush even larger because for what I have in mind, it's going to be kind of fun. Now, I'm going to do a demo down below before I do it, and that is if I hold the Shift key down while I'm drawing, it makes a straight line. But if you notice, that straight line has a beautiful like feather there, and that's because I'm using the soft brush. So by using the soft brush and holding the Shift key down again, a straight line. But instead of holding it there, I'm going to hold it here. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to run straight across, and you can see it's as I'm running straight across what's happening. And I'm going back a couple times just because I technically should have zoomed out to do this. But it's doing a nice job. And because I haven't let go, if I really, really want to, I could, like, if you go to the history right now, you're going to realize that's literally one eraser tool. So I can actually come out and see what I've done. But by doing this, I've got that nice soft edge that even though I kind of cut a little bit off on those people's heads, how much did I cut off on those people's heads? Not enough. Like that works. That kind of has a nice organic feel to it, and I am very, very happy. So real fast, just to show you what would happen if I were to undo that, I'm gonna go back to fit screen. I'm gonna go to my history, and again, we use all the time to see what happens. So this is before and this is after, and that bit of softness is just what I needed. Now, not only can I have that bit of softness, so I'm very happy with what I cut off. Like, there's no question I'm going to keep that bit of softness there. But now I can go back to my blue water layer, grab my move tool. Again, they're both already parallel, and decide, how deep do I want to go or how high I want to go. Ooh, look at it shimmer. That's just an effect. That's not going to stay, obviously. That's too high. I think I'm going to go something like that. So now I've got that, and that makes me very happy. That as a composition makes me very happy. Now it's time to kind of cut this layer off too. Oh, look at that. You see what that is? That is just crap I left over from the last time. So if I'm on the blue water layer, I'm going to come over here and get rid of that. And now I need to kind of get in here. Again, it's really important to think about this from an organic perspective. I'm still going to work with a hard edge at first, but I'm going to show you a trick on this layer that doesn't involve the paintbrush. So we're going to go with our nice, big, nasty hard edge like we did before and just kind of use the polygonal lasso tool. The nice thing about working with paintings is we have a little bit of forgiveness here, and oops, I didn't change tools. All right, so let's come back over here. And again, if you have any questions, I do have a chat window up separately, so I don't need to switch windows back and forth. I am watching you if you decide to come in and wave at me. Hi. All right, so coming around over here. Now, I still want to kind of follow the contours. I'd like to have some contours. I'd also like to, as I said last time, avoid any of the overly sharp edges that I might sort of fall into. That's a trap. And coming down this way and this way. Now slide to the left. And I'll leave a little bit of that over here. It's kind of feel my way around for what part of this. Like, I can go this way around. When I come down here, I can decide whether I want that whole shadow there. And I'm okay with that for now. We'll worry about that later. And then definitely don't want to think about this yet. So I'll stop here, zoom out, delete. See how that feels. It would feel better if that piece was gone. Again, I'm trying to come up with something that feels roughly right as a paper cutout, and then we'll make it much righter later on, but that definitely does not have a good feel to it. So I'll go into there and then come around this way. All right, now, so I think I will just kind of work my way around this and ignore the extra overpaint. So I'll pretend that that little kind of ghosty stuff doesn't exist. And that's the joy, is that you get to make the decision as to what goes where. It's also the curse, is that you have to make the decision as to what goes where. Yay. Dun, 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 dun. Whew. All right. So, see, does that help? And that helps a lot. Don't worry about those. I'm actually okay with that. I've got a plan. Now, this one's going to be trickier. I'm going to start on this side, and I'm just going to sort of try to keep the waves and get rid of the deep blue, keep the deep blue and get rid of the sky blue that you see on the screen. I was mentioning this last time, is again, you can't see it right now, but while my left finger is on my mouse button, sort of clicking along, click, 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 so that I'm equally able to undo what I've done. My right hand is on the mouse button. My left hand is on the backspace key, just sitting there on the backspace key, so that if I have to go back and forward and back and forward and back and forward and back and forward, like it's instant. It's not like, oh my God, I made a mistake. I want to make sure that that backspace is as much of my crafting as is my left clicking. And that is a technique that I am very fond of. It makes me happy. So when you're working in Photoshop, it's really important that you find the bits that make you happy, whether it's a single key stroke combination that you're like, ooh, that's fun, or something where you just feel very satisfied by it. As you see, I constantly zoom out every time I do any sort of deleting with my masks or anything, and that's just because why not enjoy the payoff? Why not, you're doing this thing, it shouldn't be like, okay, I'll check it later. It's like, no, I just did it, I'm gonna check it right now, and I'm gonna enjoy that moment. And when you're working on these things, those little moments are really what make it. Sometimes is like you remember, oh, that was a satisfying moment, and then you start craving more satisfying moments, and then your entire Photoshop is made up of really cool things that you've done, and the next thing you know, let's try it. So zoom out, and hit delete, and that feels pretty good. Now, if you want to know how good it feels, I'm going to magnifying glass fit screen. These are my standards, and I'm going to turn on my sky layer. Ooh, right? Some of that's looking really good. Now, while I was able to use the paintbrush on this layer to delete, because it was literally a horizontal line, which never happens. It's never that easy. It's never going to be just a horizontal line. I can't do that here. Instead, I'm going to do something different. And what I'm going to do different today is going to actually make your life a little bit easier. So I'm going to turn off the sky again. We'll get back. Sky is coming back later. And it looks like I left a little garbage in the little schmutz in the corner on my blue water layer. So let me oops, don't you do that. All right, come over here and delete that. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Let's see what is up there. I think it's, you know what I can do? I'm going to do select all, which just selects the window. Select inverse, which says it can't select anything. Okay, so there's nothing there. All right, I'm going to do this. Select all, edit, cut, so it puts it in memory, edit, paste, special, paste in place. Now, that should literally have done nothing, right? Blue water 2. You're like, why would you do that? Like, what was the point of doing that? Well, while I just copied this layer, what's left on blue water? And the answer is there's stuff there. Matter of fact, there's a lot of stuff there. And if I zoom out, what you're going to realize is this is all the stuff I had before that I didn't do. And so by cutting the one layer that was visible and pasting it in place into another layer, I basically eliminated all the smart object that was left over that I didn't want. And then you'll notice there's no more weirdness on the edges of my screen, which is part of it. Now, I want to soften this edge. That's my next task. I'm on the blue water layer and I want to soften this edge. Now, it is a hard edge. And one of the ways that I can do this is that I can refine the edge after I select it. But how do you select an edge that's this organic? Well, it's something that I'd like to talk about. Sometimes you want to grab the plate, and sometimes you grab the cookie. And in this case, instead of grabbing the cookie, I'm going to grab the plate. And I'm going to do that by using the Magic Wand tool. Now, the Magic Wand tool so far has not done any goodness for it. Hasn't worked at all for us, but that's okay. But you know what the Magic Wand tool is great at gathering? Nothing. And I don't mean like it's not good at grabbing anything. I mean it's good at grabbing nothing. This space here is nothing. So I click it, and it's like, all right, that's the edge. Now, if you think about it, this is the edge I want to soften. So when you feather an edge, part of the semi-transparent pixels go outward and part of them go inward. It's the edge which exists on both sides. So if I click select and mask and tell it to feather that edge by 36 pixels, whatever, I can actually overdo it here because it's already organic. If I click OK, then what's going to happen is that this edge just got weirdly soft. Now, technically, that means that the edge, which was hard, now goes into the negative space as well as into the positive space. The positive space being this space being my actual mountain and my water. See how it kind of curves it here. But if I hit delete on the keyboard, you're going to see that it starts to feather that edge. And if I do that, because I don't care about whether or not, because it's going to blend into the layer behind it, I can do that 1, 2. I can even do it 3 times. And by getting rid of that selection, you're going to see that my edge has got this weird sort of glow. It's even got this weird thing over here, which, by the way, I could clean up by hand with that wonderful, very, very semi-trans. Now, I'm not going to paint this way. I'll paint from here, which will actually give me that. Am I in the right layer? Yeah, I am. Which will give me that sense of semi-transparency. Now, I only do this when I know that I'm going to have something already to blend elsewhere. And again, I'm freehanding this with the eraser tool. But again, you see, I'm very far away from the center. I'm not like this far in. That would be a mistake. I'm just kind of doing that. And of course, all right, it's all kind of, glowy. But now if I put up the sky layer, if all goes well, it's going to blend very nicely. That little bit of blendness isn't going to glow at all. It's going to come over here and give you that really sense of fake sky. Now, I want that sense of fake sky. I want that sense of fuzzy, edgy, and I want that sense of fake sky. So the fact that this is sort of like, amorphous in the background, if I want to make any changes to it, if I could literally just come over here and do something like this if I wanted to get rid of those white caps, if I felt those white caps weren't serving me my purpose. But again, as long as I start on the top and work my way down, I'm going to be creating little areas of feather, which is not going to cause me too much grief. And then you start deciding whether or not, again, I don't want to kill those hats, those heads of people. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's so weird. I'm not an illustrator by any stretch of the imagination. So anytime I do anything freehand, I feel like I'm being a fraud. But technically, I'm streaming, so I'm a fraud. And if you're listening, you heard me say it. There you go. All right, so now we have 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, and they're blending. Now we have the water lilies layer. I'm not ready for that. And then the moon layer. I'm not ready for that either. I might be more ready for the moon layer than I think. I mean, the moon layer is actually probably going to be a lot of just a very, very large. I'm going to show you how you hedge your bets. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to duplicate my layer. Yeah. And that's going to be my moon sky copy. And it's going to be sort of my moon sky working. I'm only keeping the other moon sky in case I screw things up so badly. I have the older one there. I don't want to have to rely on a million layers of undo. So the question is, how do I get these clouds to look cloudy? And the answer is, I'm going to grab an eraser, but I'm going to make it really flippin' big. Ooh, yeah. No, bigger. There we go. Not that big. But I like how it gets like logarithmically larger, right? So we come over here and, don't worry about the fact that it's not perfect yet because, oh yeah, just something, just giving myself some cloudy, backgroundy things. There we go. So I just want to make sure that enough of the edge is kind of torn off that I feel that it got pretty and cloudy. All right, I feel good about that. So if I do that, then I have to take my lilies background and I have to bring it up. Ooh, yeah. So now I have to go, how does that feel with the cloud and stuff? And I'll be honest with you, parts of it feel great. Like I like the little bits of black falling in there. I like that. Let me come back to my eraser tool and go back to my moon sky working and see if getting rid of some more of this. And again, this is where I have to be just all painterly. Ooh. Yeah. That feels good. All right, so that's all good. I can leave that in there. We'll worry about what color that is later, but I've got to decide what part of the water lilies I'm going to use. I'm trying to get rid of some of the more obvious lily patty things, but I still want to get that blue in the sky. Okay, all right. And then the last part of the sky is how far up does the sky go before we start to blend it, yeah. All right, so something like that. I don't even know how much I have. That's why I'm doing this. Now, if I make it smaller, If I make it smaller. Now, here's a fun one, by the way. New version of Photoshop. In the old version of Photoshop, if you're transforming and you hold the shift key down, it constrains proportion. In the new version of Photoshop, it automatically constrains proportion, so I have to not hold the shift key down unless I want to warp it. So I come over here, and yeah, so I've got, this is my limitations because I want to not include the poplar tree. So I'm limited by how far I can go to make all of this work. So you can see where the poplar is, and that's about that. All right, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. Wonderful. So now my last part is I want to blend this edge. I want to blend this edge, and there's no way in hell I'm doing it right now. I know that I can do a bunch of different things to blend this edge, just like I can do a bunch of things to change the color. But compositionally, I think I'm pretty happy right now. Now, one of the things that you just saw me do, and I'm going to do it again purposely, is I'm going to hit save because Lord knows I want to save. See how I'm doing here. Maybe get a little swig of Mellow Yellow. This moment was brought to you by Mellow Yellow. Quite rightly. All right, so excellent. Thank you very much. Now let's see what happens when the foreground elements come back, because now all hell's going to break loose again because everything's going to have moved. Are you ready? I'm ready. I can do this. Bam. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's take a look at what happened. So yes, some things have moved, and I have to make some decisions, some strategic decisions about what to do with that. I have to turn on my table fountain. There we go. Boop. All right, so there's my table fountain. So I think all my pieces are back, but things are in different places. So let's start off by putting my unicorn back where he belongs. All right, so my unicorn sits there. All right, so the unicorn sits there. That's a good position for him. Technically, I was having him kind of pointing upward a bit, so I can come over here and just a little bit upward. I don't want to go too crazy. All right, and there we go. Here we go. The unicorn's sitting there. I was trying to have the unicorn kind of facing down the dragon, so I have to bring this over here like this, and I'm going to bring the dragon over a little bit like that so that it makes a little bit more sense. There's my dragon. So that part works pretty well. My angel, I'm not overly thrilled with in terms of the way it looks on top of this background, but we haven't done things like contrast and surface texturing yet, so I have to have faith that that's going to work out. Move my horse over here. Yee. All right, definitely want to bring this down so that it sort of begins over there. That feels a little bit better. Chip's going to be up in the water. Have no idea how that whirlpool is going to end up in there with this. But definitely want to have the boat kind of around here somewhere. Haven't decided where the ship where the horse goes yet. Also love this idea of blocking this stuff, but we have other ways of photoshopping that. I'm sorry, you're not supposed to use Photoshop as a verb. We're supposed to have other ways of manipulating this in Photoshop. All right, and my ducks will be here. I'm still kind of roughly happy with where my poplars are. Can do that in a second when I edit those out, and I'll probably again only edit one and clone it. I'm still happy with this and this and this. And the last one is to decide how I'm going to cut out my fountain. You know, how big is the fountain going to be and how am I going to cut it? It's a really weird one because part of me was like, just use the top and make it like a little thingamabob, like cut this out. And then part of me is like, no, it's the whole thing. It's got the pillars and I can make the whole thing smaller. But I kind of like just using the excerpt of it. I kind of like coming over here and like just grabbing, like that much of it. And I have to, again, make that decision. Now, if I'm going to make a decision this drastic, I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to call this fountain backup just because, I can always reload anything, but if you've already got like a good sense of scale or a good sense of cut, it never hurts to like add that extra layer and then say beep and get rid of it for now. Just kind of keep that in my backup point of view. And then I'm going to ask myself, what does that cathedral really look like? Now, this is the perfect example of if I know I'm only going to keep this much of the item, I don't have to edit all that stuff, which is what I desperately didn't want to do before. So I want to look at this. I'm going to give myself some room to grow, but I really want to see what's going on. So I'm going to zoom in. and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool. But the reason I'm using my rectangular marquee tool instead of the polygonal lasso tool is with the rectangular marquee tool, I can actually come over here and get a really precise flat edge. Now, again, if you look over here, this could have been straighter, but I think that's pretty good. I think that's actually what I want, because it looks like that's pretty even. And then I'm going to breathe slowly and hit delete. And that's all I want, which means that I have so much I don't have to edit now. I can come over here and say, I don't want that. And I can come over here and say, I don't want that. And then when I come back and grab it and put it back on the hillside, back to the hillside with you, back, put it back to the hillside, it should look a little bit more, pretty or perfect. Now, that being said, I can also decide to put it in front of behind the blue water, so that, wait, where's my blue water? I can put it behind my blue water, so that if I do like this, it literally has a little bit of an organic there as well. So it doesn't go too far down. So that kind of makes it feel like it's teetering out across the hillside. So I guess since I want to finish this baby, I'm going to uncheck some of my background layers, including blue water. And I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to take care of this one. Now, should I try one more time to see if I can get any of these things to work with something as cool of like a magic wand tool set to 20? Like, is it going to work if I come over here like this? Wait a second. Did it work? Not really. Will this one work? All right. So now, unlike before, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn on the sky so I can see what it's doing. Oops, wrong layer. Okay, does that work? That worked pretty good. Let's see if I can get this one to work. Is it going to work? That one works pretty good. Let's see if I can get this one to work. That feels pretty good. Now, you got to take your time, folks. You've got to take your time, because if you miss a tooth or something, it will not look good later. But I have to sit here and go, that feels pretty good. And again, I'm on the magic wand tool set to 20. That one doesn't work. No, that one doesn't work. So I'll have to come over here and try other areas. Again, anything that does work makes my life a little bit easier. So that works. Ooh, there's a lot that's working here. A lot more than not. That works. Oh man, look at all this stuff that's working. So what doesn't work? So here's where it's fun. People take different approaches when it doesn't work, right? But where isn't it working? Let's really take the moment to look. Where is it not working? Well, it's working all the way around here. Like, it's working more often than not. So it works here, it works here, it works all the way around, but it's really phasing out right around here. This edge and this edge is bad. So, I'm going to grab and again, I can change tools. I'm going to grab the polygonal lasso tool, and I'm holding the Alt key down. I'm going to subtract from this selection everything that doesn't work, which is pretty much this side. Yeah, it's about it. Right? So I'm going to say, I didn't mean that. So all of this is selected, but this is all not selected. That kind of burnt edge isn't selected. That's pretty good. So think about this. I'll have to do this part by hand, but this part is still good. Now, again, with this tool, if I hold the Shift key down, I can add to my selection, and it did a nice job down here, but it's still kind of screwed up around the tip of the edges. So I'm going to grab my polygonal lasso tool, hold the Alt key down, and I'm going to say, not for you. You people aren't ready for me yet. I'm going to do this by hand. So there we go. So that part is protected as if it was good. But let's go through. This edge looks good. This edge looks good. This edge looks good. And again, it's a lot easier to take a moment looking at all the edges I've selected and to cut out the ones I'm going to have to do by hand than it is to do them all by hand. And the reason this works is because we're a different part of the image. This edge looks good. Now, before I get rid of this edge, I'm going to add this edge. Again, hold the Shift key down to add your selection. That looks good. That looks good. But then we have that failure point again. So hold the Alt key down and say, not around you. Not around you. Again, not around you. And so that part kind of wide opens. Now, this is very exciting because what that means is that if I press delete right now, something magical is going to happen. That. And if I control D, it looks pretty. Wait. Did I miss a piece? Let's come back over here. Oh, I think I missed a piece. Yes, I missed a piece. But it's not the end of the world. I used my history to go backwards. And that piece right there looked really funky. Now, unlike subtracting by saying I'll do it later, I'm going to grab the shift key down. I'm going to grab the polygonal lasso tool, grab the shift key, and I'm going to say you need to follow the contour just a bit more. Maybe it was the other way around. I'm selecting this. I need the alt key down. You need to follow the contour just a little bit more. So I'm protecting the gold. Yes. And again, like this, I could come over here and I could do that. The reality of it is that some of the little itty bitty corners don't matter. But like this little bit of edge where it's a little bit off here, a little bit off there. Let me bring up my navigator. Oh, navigator's not going to work. I'm too zoomed in. So I'll use my tool, my bars. Yeah, all of this is fine. Like all of this is relatively fine. You're not going to see any of those details really vanishing because they're not going to really be visible. See, all that. Like I'm not worried about a little bit of glow or that little bit of a point. That's not going to kill me. This might kill me, but I actually may have another solution for this in a minute. I may not use those discs. Because I could make a decision. I could make an aesthetic decision that I'm going to keep the ball and not the disc. And what would that look like? Because again, those discs may not read properly. And now if I come over here, zoom to just this area here and hit delete. Again, delete was the first thing I did. Control D was the second thing I did. If I stop right now, I'll have enough time and space to analyze that if I made a mistake, I can back it up. But you know what? I think I'm going to get rid of the discs here and keep the other bits. And if I do that, that'll actually make my life a little bit easier. That little bit of gold there I could have carved into better. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, I don't want this. You're like, but that's gold. Yes, it is. But by going around these circles there, and it's a little bit of work to get around a circle nicely without it looking like, a stop sign, or a soccer ball. And you see I'm going backwards as smoothly as I'm going forwards. Bum, 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 bum. And this is not just a decision where I didn't want to cut out those gears. I actually think that without the gears, it looks a little bit more towerish. And because I'm going for a cathedral approach, I think this actually does tell my story. So I'm not really being delusional here. I'm taking my time. I mean, if I wasn't taking my time, this would have been over already. All right, so if I hit delete here, right, look at that. That's kind of neat. That's actually a really cool thing because it's a very strange, like almost alien structure there. Look at that. Compare what's on the left to what's on the right. Isn't that nice? Yes, it is. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. All right. So now I'm going to do the same thing again, but on this side. And again, I hope you're enjoying my little Photoshop tutorial. The contest was over. I was not on the jury, but because I was the one doing the instruction, I was actually not. I was disqualified from entering, but which is okay because I didn't get this done in time. And they were really good entries. Like everybody who had made the collage had done some really, really phenomenal work, and it was fun on what we called Collage Day. We had 7 people sit there for 4 hours as I did sort of a more trimmed down version. We had joked that with the judges' categories, they were going to come up with special categories like most cats or something like that in the collage. There weren't enough cats in the collection to do that with, but we were actually at one point we're doing different sort of themes on what you could do there. which again, it's the fun part about doing this. I like the organic nature of it. I know that everyone else, they go into this with a really big plot. I'm going to make this, and it's going to look like this, and that's great. But even in old school collage, that's not how you did it. Found what in an old school collage, if you can sit there and say you want these pieces to go together, but if they're not the right size, shape, color, whatever, I mean, we have a lot more flexibility with Photoshop than we ever did with paper and glue. Oh, here it's time. Oh, that's so nice. I love the way that looks. And again, if I'm not happy with this little bit of a trim here, that teeny little edge, I'll trim that edge off. I like to grab the little bit of slivers there, something that lets people know that, no, that was too much. Oops, that's not the history tool. There we go. Oops, there's my history. Just want to come over here. If in doubt, zoom. Here we go. All right. All right. And just teeny little bits of shadow here, just to see if I can get the edge off. All right, that's kind of nice. Zoom out. Now, one of the things that happens when you use any of these selection tools that are not regular is that you don't know if there's flecks of dots that are of invisibility that you can't see. There could be a pixel, a stray pixel of semi-translucency or transparency that you just can't see that may or may not print, but definitely irk the hell out of me. So I have a trick that I like to use to go over that. And what I do is I double click after the name to bring up the layer styles menu. And when I bring up the layer styles menu, I add a stroke. I'm going to add a red stroke, nice big red stroke so I can't miss it. I'm going to make it nice and big, and there you go. It tells you exactly where the outliers are. And in this case, there's one there and there's one there. So I grab my eraser tool, make it small, but this time make it hard, and I can erase those dots. And it's a nice little thing that I can do. What's really, really convenient about it is that it actually shows you sort of where the outline is. This only works if you outline. If you go, instead of stroking out, if you stroke in, it goes on the inside. That doesn't really show you much. And of course, you can center the stroke as well. I don't need any of this now anymore, so I right click and say clear layer style. And now our fountain is done. Yay. And if our fountain is done, I can bring up Blue Water 2. And if Blue Water 2 is done, then I can decide where my fountain is going to go on Blue Water 2. And by the way, that's not just a sense of where, but I can also do a sense of scale, right? I can go, does this need to be bigger? Now, I want to be careful that I don't, get too close to this line here because I don't want to create a weird tangency. So this actually might be the idealized sense. Still want to make sure it's there. And then, of course, I'm going to go back to my unicorn and see if my unicorn looks like he's actually sitting on the cliff. And the unicorn, oops, that's the cliff. That's the unicorn. And the unicorn kind of feels right there. He doesn't feel too bad. Again, we haven't done any sort of texture modification to him, which we will do later. And all we need to do now is turn back on the, not the moon sky, but the water lilies. So there's your water lilies. So, yeah, so far so good. Now, one of the things that I love to do when I'm doing these types of things is you have to not be afraid to make the big decision, right? I said this looks good like this. I said to be careful of a tangency. Well, okay, those are things that I want to be careful about. But what I don't know is what will look better. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go, what if it was bigger? What if it was the whole mountainside? And again, it's no longer a tangency because it overlaps the other part. And if I do that, press enter and move it around with the arrow keys, I think that looks almost even better. I like that big thing on the hillside kind of hitting behind. And I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have tried it. And if I tried it, it wouldn't hurt me. So all of those things about, not being afraid to try something different really, really applies here. And I want to make sure you don't forget that because that's a big, big thing. Oh, so many different things left to do. Not really. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There's only a couple things left to do. I think I probably need to get back into that dragon so that when I'm touching other things, they're kind of clean. Again, we have one, two, three, four, five, 6 pieces left to edit. So we're just, there's nothing to it but to do it. And I really need another swig. Oh, I also need to hit save. So here we go. Hit save. And have you got anybody got any comments, questions, that kind of stuff while I'm drinking? All right. So we continue. Back in the zone. All right, then. I always do this. So you see me over here, but what you don't realize is that I'm slightly to the right of my screen, and I'm an idiot because I need to really slide over here to see, what's going to make me happiest. I don't want to be like, twisting my neck funny while I'm doing this, because believe it or not, ergonomics is everything. And if you do twist your neck funny while you do this type of stuff, you will feel it, and you will be upset, and I will not take the blame for that. I am not responsible for your sore neck. I am responsible, however, for my sore neck. Alrighty then. Oh, there it is again. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to take too much breaks when you're working on a piece, is because really I should be going like this, getting rid of that weird piece of glaze or overglaze that was there. All right. Oops. And it's funny when I do this. Sometimes I get like, oh my God, am I tired all of a sudden? But, if I don't finish, I won't finish. Which is really an important lesson. Remember that. If you don't finish, you won't finish. And rehab is for quitters. Now, the idea is you just have to make a commitment that there are no small parts of the collage. There's no small parts of the job. There's just parts you're in the mood for and parts you're not in the mood for. But again, it's not just about what you feel good. You don't just Photoshop when you feel like it. You Photoshop because you can, and then you enjoy it because you feel like it. Or maybe you'll even start working in Photoshop, and because of the rhythmic action and because it allows you to express yourself, that even if you're in a bad mood, that it will make you in a good mood. I'm not saying it'll turn your frown upside down, but I am saying is it could put you in the zone that will help you for your other stuff, because there really is a zone. All right. I don't know if I'm being overly. I think that's the other thing that happens when I start doing this after a while, is I'm being like overly cautious. Someone's gonna go, "What are you doing?" No one's gonna see the level of detail that you're carving this thing, and I'm not gonna go, "I'd notice," because that's not true either. I'm doing what I think is noticeable, but I'm also doing something that I feel is sort of respectful for the original. Even though obviously I'm being sacrilegious to the original, I still want to be sort of respectful to what I'm looking at. Like that doesn't go there. Yep, that's part of this, is making that decision as what sort of the overglaze, or I'm guessing that's overglaze. Yeah. At the same time, I don't want to go all the way in there. I kind of like having a little bit of these sort of fingerling things. All right. All right. Let's say this isn't how to train your dragon, it's how to edit your dragon. All right. Okay, and I'll take advantage of the hole. So one of the things that ends up happening is that if you just move your pin over here, it'll actually start to scroll the window for you. So you can kind of, if you're not afraid that you're going to accidentally let go of the polygonal lasso tool in terms of like clicking in the wrong spot, if you just drag it into any corner of the screen, it'll start to scroll that way. Which I enjoy. And it's not something that I necessarily teach people to do. It's just something that I've been doing for so long that it's kind of more of a bad habit or a guilty pleasure. And we only call them guilty pleasures because we know we're not supposed to do them. So again, there's a lot of things that I don't want you doing, but this one is a little bit of a personal preference. And the best part is you don't have to follow anything that I say because I am not the boss of you. Even with the collage contest, I only laid out guidelines that would make people's life easier, but they could have made it whatever they wanted. And that's the same thing with my students as well. I give them parameters, but I don't force them. All right. Now we go back to that situation called press your luck, where I'm like, this is feeling pretty good. Why am I why don't I stop? Why don't I stop right around here and just see how good I've done? Oh, it's a lot right there. Ooh, no, backs. All right, and bam. Oops, didn't work. I'm on the wrong layer, but there's nothing on that layer, so I'm okay. So I go to the green dragon. That's not the green dragon. This is the red dragon. That's the red dragon. Go to that dragon layer, hit delete, and back up. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I got a lot of that. It's kind of funny because you see all that green, but really you shouldn't be looking at the green. You should be looking at the perimeter because the perimeter is what I'm really looking at. All right, I'm going to finish this dragon. That is what's going to happen tonight, folks. I'm going to finish this dragon, and then I'm going to pass out. All right. I don't know if that's true or not, but okay. So come back over here and start making a decision about this overglaze. All right. So much to think about. And again, there's so much of it's a mechanical rhythmic process, but I'm literally right now making these judgment calls. So much of it is a mixture of what is my aesthetic journey and what is my hand-eye coordination. And there are days that I feel a lot more confident about my aesthetic journey than my hand-eye coordination. Again, just because I'm not really somebody to illustrate. But I think I can, the slow and steady wins the race will work for me here. Then I got to give my mouse enough room to work. I'm constantly blocking my mouse with a can of soda. And again, tonight was brought to you by Mellow Yellow. Quite rightly. And if you don't know what that reference is, there's a song by Donovan called Mellow Yellow. And it's in theory about drugs. Because he mentions electric bananas. And then people thought you were supposed to smoke bananas, which don't really do anything. So please, for God's sake, do not smoke bananas. Yeah, that's a mistake. I should come up here like this. Much prettier. And then I should come around like this. Yeah. Much prettier. Again, if anyone who's out there, hello, good evening. How y'all doing? Say hi in the chat window. I'd say hi in your chat window if you were there. All right. Okay, this is fun. Be really interesting to see how this was broken or glued back together. If there's any lore to it. Versus I dropped it, then we just threw it away. All right, now let's see if this one helps. Bam. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. That makes me happy. All right, so now. So much left. So much left. It's all right. It's all right. I can do this. I can do this. And you're right along with me. You can do this with me as well. You can grab a polygonal lasso tool and you can start on the other end of the drawing. No, it would be nice if I could sort of crowdsource your collective editing skills. But I'd much rather you have your own individual editing skills. Ah, yes. So yeah, there's a lot to be cut out here, and that's what's nice is that when you see the plate looks great, but the overglaze does, or the over whatever we call this, the spillover is causing sort of a little bit of an aesthetic muddiness that really the intention isn't for it to be there. So that if we do come around and sort of reshape it, we can see what we can do. Oops. Remember, I gotta follow those contours. Try not to make right edges, but realizing that sometimes the contours do make right edges, so you've got to still, make a decision about whether it looks aesthetic versus whether it is aesthetic. There we go. And, you got to really love the components of your collage to do this. Like, you wouldn't do this with something, you wouldn't spend this much time on an image that wasn't this epic. And it's not that just it's a dragon, it's an epic dragon. It's a really good looking dragon, which is why they have to, that's why they have it. Okay. See how it's coming? Oops. Again, I always get that. When does the shudder of you're pressing your luck? Yeah, usually, by the way, it's when fatigue sets in. Not only am I pressing my luck, but people are starting to show me other fun items that need to be done. All right. Well, that's a little bit too much. All right. So, again, when you start feeling it, when you start going, maybe I'm losing a little bit, it's when you want to take that little bit of a 2-second break, zoom out and say, bam, and get like that. And oh yeah, that's looking really nice. So is it overkill? Sure, probably. But when you do overkill, when you do zoom in that much and you make a mistake that you don't catch, it's not as noticeable. And then you get that little bit of a boost of motivation of, yeah, I can do this. It is still a matter of, again, making these decisions that not just, tell your story. The weird part, of course, is you pick something so epic like Van Gogh, see the other part of the collage, or Monet, see the entire background of the collage twice. If you use something so famous, you do have to make sure that it is done in such a transformative way that people don't go as like, yeah, so what? And that's not always easy, because a lot of times they do want to say, yeah, so what? Nobody wants to look at your art and go, that must have taken a lot of work. And even when they do, that's not necessarily the praise. It's art that was effective but fast. Is that a bad thing? If you love it, you shouldn't care about how easy or not easy it was to make it. If it speaks to you. Okay. I'm not happy with that corner there. I'm not even reading that corner right. So I'm going to stop here, delete that. That makes me happy. Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm just not reading this right. So what am I looking at? Let's come around this way. Click, click. New point of view. That's all it takes. Or changing direction. Or starting on a different part of it. Yeah, so you know what I'm looking. I know what it is. I can read it now. I can read exactly what it is, and now I know what I don't like about this. And I think what I end up having to do is I have to come around like this. And realize that this is a sort of a spiky wing thing that is being obscured. Yeah. That is being obscured by the broken. Yep, yep. So, and again, you see what it looks like in here. It's not great. Probably can get rid of that little bit of a extra shadow there. But when I zoom in, it looks. Zoom out, it looks a lot better. A lot better. It makes you want to take a look to see if there's any other areas where there are cutaways that need to be handled like that. But I think I already did it in those other areas. But it never hurts to double check. So I need to get rid of this, work my round, get that baby in, and then it'll be done. Well, it won't be done, but it'll be, this phase will be done, and then I can move on to the next phase. It's a fun thing to do, again, especially when there's no assignment. I mean, it's my assignment, but, you know, I'm doing this just for me. No, I'm doing it just for you. Well, it's an epic tutorial. It'll be a real-time creation of this collage. Somebody asked me, they go, how much do you can of this? Like, how much, you know, did you know what you're going to say or do ahead of time, or, you know, that kind of stuff? How much of the database did you search through? And, you know, I had a couple of jokes that I did, you know, like the specific joke or things like that. And I didn't even do show me the Monet. Show me the Monet. But I just really kept this as organic as possible. If I was going to make mistakes or design errors or design concepts, I wanted you to see how I kind of talked my way through it as well, because that's helpful. No one's perfect on this stuff. And at best, I think you get confident, but not cocky. You know, I get cocky. Ah, yes. All right. All right, so come over here, delete that. Feel good about that. The fun part is as I get through all this, is that you start thinking like, oh my God, I could jump around. But then you realize that, you know, if you're committed to finishing the dragon, which I am, then you're not that many places to jump around to. And then you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. I want to jump around. And you're like, wait a second, there's not that many places for you to jump around to, which means, oh my God, you're almost done. So again, that mixed blessing. All right. All right. If you're enjoying Photoshop, wait till you enjoy the Illustrator tutorial I'm going to be doing. I don't actually know when. Actually, it may be sooner than later, because I need to do some cut plexiglass. And I have a laser cutter, and I have to decide whether I'm going to use mine or somebody else's. And that makes a big difference on how I cut. All right. Speaking of cutting, voila. Ooh, so close, so close. Zoom out. Any other areas? Oh, yes. Okay. So all I've got is this baby, and we are done with the dragon. Every time I zoom out, it's like a shot of adrenaline. Yeah, that's right. And again, mellow yellow. I guess it makes me a non-compensated spokesperson for mellow yellow. I mean, I could be an official spokesman for mellow yellow, but, you know. Alrighty then. Again, if you are here and watching, say hi in the chat window. If you're not watching, say hi. If you're not watching, don't say hi, right? Someone's sitting in the room just going, hi, and no one's paying attention because they're not actually logged in and streaming anywhere. All right. Actually, I'm really thrilled about how far we got with that backdrop today. I mean, the reality of it is that is a hell of a backdrop. I mean, I like having all the layers in there. What I like about doing stuff like that is that a lot of people, some people do it, some people don't, and it really gives you the sense of that wasn't necessary. But, ooh, wait a second. Do you see what I see? I see it now. I completely see now what I'm looking at. Did not see it before, but I see it now. There we go. So now I got to zoom out a little bit. Now I got to zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Now I read this. I read it as those little spiky things. Sorry if I went silent for a second. I think I put my hand over my mouth. As I said, a little tired, but I can't stop till it's done. Yeah, that's a nice. All right, so how much can go into there? All right, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right, there we go. Back around the horn. Or in this case, it's probably back around the claw. Those aren't claws, those are talons, right? Because it's kind of a dragon's kind of a birdie thing. All right. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. And again, how far am I going to push my luck? And I think right now I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to try to get all the way around. Well, halfway. I'm going to try to get all the way around this much at least. Yeah, it's just you don't want to get slap happy and start cutting everything in sight. I'd rather get slap happy and leave things and in the morning go, what the hell was I thinking? See, that's the claw, so I got to keep the claw in there. All right. And we'll stop with this halfway point and bam. Now that you see it, like that makes so much more sense. And now I got to really decide what goes in here now that I see it opening up. But not yet. I'm going to do this piece and decide what to do with that piece. That really is there, but I might cut it off because it might make my life a little bit easier. Ah, yes, so close. This is the home stretch. But the good news is I'm already home. So I'm broadcasting live from my home office, which is literally a 7x7 by, you couldn't stand up in it probably, but I could, closet that was turned into an office. Actually, it was crawl space. So I do this live, and then I record it, and then you can realize that it was live unedited. So you're not going back and editing anything. No state secrets, no trade secrets, nothing crazy in here that has to be bleeped at a later date. I can't imagine, watching one of these videos and having the redacted stuff on it. All right. So this one's a little bit trickier because of that white space. And I was editing it so I could keep the white space, but I'm going to stop right there. And so voila. Okay, I can do a little better on this side. It gets a little trickier things. But it's amazing what those little things do, by the way. So like, well, this piece is really there. If I were to imply that it wasn't really there. Oops. Yeah, it's a lot better, isn't it? Same thing kind of goes over here. Yeah, that's nice. Carve those little bits of stuff. Okay. Oh, that's so nice. So nice. I've got to look to see where else I've got to clean up, but it's all down to the middle. It's all down to the middle. And what the hell is going on here? And I think I know. I think I just had a revelation. I think this comes over like this. Around like this. And around like this. And then delete it all. Now we can take a look to see if that looks pretty good, and I think it does look pretty good. Now let's zoom out. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, look at that. It's amazing how much different that feels when you have that much green negative space gone. And when we change the contrast later and the colors later. Wow. Just look at that. Take a look. Whew, so much work. And again, feel how the dragon, even the size of it just feels different now. Like I could come over here and make him even bigger. And I do want to even think about making him bigger. I want him crossing into those other areas, as it were. But again, we can move this area down. I mean, that's the other thing that's part of this is that, if I want to make sure that I have enough of each, I can bring the blue layer down, or I can bring the blue layer up, or I can bring the blue layer down. I just want to make sure that there's, again, a sense of scale. Oof. So what is left to cut? All right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 items left to cut. Five. Okay, 5. Well, 6. No, 5. Tree, duck, maelstrom, dragon, ship. That's what we have left to cut. I'm going to hit save again. This file is enormous. But I think that's it. I think that is our session for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Yes, there's probably going to be one more massive cutting section, and then there's more. I've got to work with contrast and color shift and special effects and really put this together. And then I can't wait to actually go out and print this on canvas. I'm going to print this on canvas, big canvas print, and then I'm going to sell them for $1 million. I'm going to sell 1 million of them for $1 a piece, or one of them for $1 million. So you can decide how much you really like this now. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Jared Bendis. If you are enjoying my streams, please let me know. Follow me, like me, tell your friends, all this type of good stuff, and I will see you next time.